Greetings and salutations. Another edition of Vikings Weekly from Mancave Sports. Mike here at the Mancave. Steve from the office, I believe, right?
Yep. The office here.
The office. So, just recapping a Minnesota Vikings victory, defeating the Chicago Bears in overtime to move to 9-2. Uh, Interesting game to say the least. The Vikings blew an 11-point lead in the last 2 minutes of the game. Uh, Made it a lot more difficult than it needed to be. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. And it was an exciting game. The defense delivered. They lost the coin toss. Chicago got the ball first, and I believe they were 3-and-out. And then the Vikings took the ball down the field, kicked the game-winning field goal from Mr. Romo, who's been perfect, I think, other than missing extra points, but he's been perfect
Yeah. Yeah.
in kicking the field goal. So Central Division win, which is huge, or Central Division. Wow, I just dated myself.
Hell yeah.
NFC
Black and
North,
blue.
yes, NFC North win, keeping pace with the Detroit Lions, who I believe are 10-1, and Packers, another victory for them. They're 8-3, I believe.
Asterisk. That's an asterisk. The Niners didn't have Bosa or Purdy. That's an asterisk. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So we'll see, and I believe the Lions and Packers play this Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Or no, wait, the Bears play the Lions, I believe. So, anyways, the Vikings still got plenty of NFC North games, not NFC Central, and have a chance to make up ground. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But Steve, a win's a win. It's a 3-game road trip, and I believe when we did the rehearsal last night, uh, spoiler alert, we did this show last night along with Brian, and unfortunately, uh, I'm not our crack audio video guy, and I did not record it accordingly. So we are here redoing it again. But
Yeah.
it happens. We'll survive. But yeah, Steve, your thoughts on the game on Sunday?
Yeah. You know what? It was, I had best of both worlds. So I was driving back from being up north. Um, so I listened to the first half of Paul Allen and then, got here for halftime. And then I got to, watch the second half of the game. And it was crazy that we were leading the game at halftime, but yet the Fox talking heads, all the, Jimmy Johnson and all those guys all they could do was talk about how amazing the Bears were. And I'm like, okay. But they did have one point that I thought was interesting. The Bears were really beating us at time of possession.
Yeah,
The second half, we came out and I think we ran the ball a lot better. I think there's more intention with what we were doing. And we, even up the time of possession by the end of the game. Um, it was Soldier Field, so a perfect storm at the end of the game. You knew when my feeling, and I said it to Aiden, my son, in the garage, the possession where we went for it on 4th and 1, and then we missed it on their side of the field. It was fourth quarter. We went for it on 4th and 1, and that was a pass that got knocked out. And I'm like, it would have been a little bit. It would have been a 50-ish yard field because it was at we weren't quite to the 30. But I'm like, you need to take that field goal because then as the game plays out, we end up where we would have been up by 14 and not up by 11. And I don't think that's the same game. But Sam Darnold, amazing game. Probably one of his best games as a Viking because even though Chicago took away Justin Jefferson and literally just beat the living crap out of Jefferson. Let's be honest. Some of
yeah,
how there was not more calls for them. Like some of the replays I've watched since that game where Jefferson's like doing crossing routes in the end zone and and he's being tackled because he's being bracketed and stuff. But that just left things open for Jordan Addison, who had a huge game. TJ Hockenson, welcome back to him. He had a massive game, which is really important because Josh Oliver being out, right? We needed more support. And Aaron Jones, 100 yards rushing, over 100 yards from scrimmage, 120 some yards from scrimmage. And Sam Darnold throwing for 300 yards. I think another good thing we saw there was, um, Caleb Williams had to play almost a flawless game, really almost a flawless game to be in position to beat us. And I'll give him credit. He had some throws that were ridiculous
yeah,
where, the velocity that he can put on that ball really is hard to defend. Because there's a couple of plays, one by Van Ginkel, where I thought, when I was watching it live, I thought, sure, because Van Ginkel's almost his entire body was in front of the receiver. He was diving out. And I don't know how that ball got through that window. That was just Caleb's arm strength. So that kid showed out yesterday, but they still lost. So I think, um, it was a Soldier Field game. We've won now 5 times in a row. Surprisingly, most of us don't think of it that way. We think of Soldier Field as a house of horrors, but it was Soldier Field weirdness. We didn't. Our defense kind of gave up too much at the end, but the big penultimate play of that onside kick hitting Johnny Munt in the leg. I don't know. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? Wait till it goes 10 yards and then start blocking? I don't think that works either. So it was just kind of weird bounce, but. Yeah, kind of a crazy game, but a W is a W. I think Sam Darnold in overtime showed some real good moxie and poise to really go, hey, let's go. They took the drive straight down the field, and to hit the game winner. So, yeah, I think it was a weird Soldier Field game as they tend to be, but we came out on top, and Caleb Williams played almost a perfect game, and we still beat him. So,
Yeah, and I think with Darnold, and this is something we talked about with the rest of the panelists as well, uh, just his propensity to, I'm not going to say boneheaded, but he's good for two or three throws a game where you're like, no, no, and it led to some of his turnovers. I think what I noticed most about him for this particular game was he was throwing the ball away if he didn't have something there. I mean, he had plenty of time in the pocket, and he'd roll out and make sure he didn't take a grounding. But yeah, he did a great job of getting rid of the ball when he needed to. And I think that's a change from earlier in the season when he was getting turnovers, when he was throwing interceptions, et cetera. So I was happy to see that. Uh, you alluded to Jordan Addison. I mean, I think we've talked about it on here a few times. It seems like he's missed a wide open Jordan Addison or overthrew him. They just haven't really clicked like I would like to see because last year as a rookie, I mean, we saw what Jordan Addison is capable of doing, and I really thought, he'd take his game to the next level this year. And the way Darnold's been playing, there'd certainly be the opportunity for it. But it'd be great to see them get on the same page. Hockenson back, obviously, that opens some things up in the passing game as well. And Hockenson, I think he had a quiet first half, but man, he was a beast that second half. Uh,
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it to me easily top five when healthy, which obviously he got injured at the end of last year and missed a good portion of the first half of the season. But when he's healthy, he's a top five tight end in the game, in my opinion. And you see the difference he makes with that offense. But and then Jones, I mean, Jones had a quiet but deadly game. And Akers spelled him as well. So the running game really set the tone for everything. I think Darnold throughout most of the game was only hitting about 50% of his passes, but I mean, he was taking what they were giving him, throwing the ball away, making sure not to turn over the ball. So at the end of the day, you'll take the W, and there was a lot of good to take away from it. And you got those 3 road wins. Now you got a 3-game homestand, and it's going to be huge. And, definitely, some tough games in there, but definitely some winnable games. So with that, just we touched on some of the good offensive performances. Defense came up with timing plays. Williams got 300 plus yards passing. But you and I have discussed this, and we were discussing it before we came on air tonight. But the Vikings defense is very bend but don't break. I mean, we're number one against the rush, if I'm not mistaken. Towards the bottom in passing yards allowed, but they're getting timely sacks. They're getting timely turnovers. So, I mean, as much as quarterbacks are perhaps feasting a little bit on our secondary, it seems like B-Flow's okay with that as long as we're doing everything else solidly, which, we did for the most part yesterday. So is there any concern as we hit the stretch run of the season and start, fixating on playoffs? Because let's be honest, I mean, barring some miraculous, uh, uh, spiral, the Vikings are pretty well poised to make the playoffs this year. Now, hopefully it's as a division winner, not a wild card, but even a wild card berth, you'll take it. I think before the season, none of us would have expected that. So are there any concerns about the defense as we enter the stretch run of the season?
Yeah, I think the one good thing that we have right now is that we do have the ability to stop the run, and that's huge. That's a credit to bringing in these three otherworldly linebackers in Grenard, Van Ginkel, and Cashman. I think with Cashman back, that's helping to solidify our passing defense because he does such a good job with wearing the green dot, knowing when to call play, being able to quarterback that defense and be able to drop back in coverage. He does such a good job with his coverage reads that really, really, where we've been beat has not been when we got beat by Detroit and St. Louis, we were being beat in the short middle, the short to intermediate middle part in between the hash marks. Now they're not, the last couple games, granted, different competition, but we're not getting beat once Black Cashman came back. We're not getting beat there. We're getting beat intermediate to long. We're talking 15 yards, intermediate pass, in between the hash marks. So we're making a difference there. And that really makes, for us, it's a difference of whether or not our blitzes are getting home or they're not getting home. If our blitzes are getting home, they're not going to have time to set up for 20-yard routes. When our blitzes don't get home, like we saw against Detroit and St. Louis, that's where we run into problems, especially when we don't have Cashman clogging up that first, 5 to 15 yards passing area. So I think that while that is a concern, Stephon Gilmore sometimes is amazing, sometimes he's not. I think that the big thing for us is if you can stop the run and make a team one-dimensional, now you do give more opportunity for sacks and interceptions. We're leading the league tied for the lead in interceptions and leading the league in sacks. We've got two guys with 9 sacks. We tied a record in 22, I think it's 22 and a half sacks that we have on the season so far, split between 3 people. The last time they did that, it was Dolman, Millard, and Johnny Randall.
Okay, wow.
If I remember correctly. It's been that long since we've had 3 guys combined to be 22 and a half sacks. So, I mean, I think we'll be all right defensively as long as we don't lose Cashman. When we lose Cashman, now we have that entire, the 5 to 15 yard is open as well. So then they beat us all the time in the middle, and then they wait until we adjust to go over the top. So I think as long as we've got Cashman in the middle, then it's just a matter of, we will get the sacks, we will get the interceptions, and we force teams to have to earn it because they have to chunk. They're either going to hit the outside edges, which leads to pretty quick tackling, or if they go down the middle, you get one chunk and then you can't, then now you're getting into spots where once you hit the 50, those chunk plays get shorter because of the length of the field. So, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about Sam Darnold being able to take us. Which Sam Darnold are we going to get? Are we going to get the one against the Bears, or are we getting the one against the Jaguars? That's going to be the thing. But I think defensive wise, I think we'll be okay as long as we don't lose Cashman.
Yep, undefeated with Blake Cashman. To close the loop on the Bears game, I know I've been doing 3 takeaways, and the more I think about it, it's kind of lame. So I'm going to do something different here before I turn it over to you. I'm going to do unsung hero of the game, and I'm going to go with Nick Mullins because that's the second time he's had to come into a game, 3rd down, and hit Aaron Jones with a clutch pass.
Right.
And, I know you and I talked about, and I joked around on social media this week. Check out my video with Daniel Jones to Chumbawamba if you haven't seen it yet. But, jokingly, but half serious, talking about him joining the Vikings because, as everybody knows, the Giants released him. But and hopefully it doesn't come to that. I wouldn't want him to replace Darnold this season or even McCarthy next season. But Nick Mullins, I mean, he's come through clutch in 2 games there where we needed him and just thrown right into the mix because Darnold got dinged up and come up with the first down. So that is my unsung hero. Steve, tell us your bad MFer of the game.
I'm going to switch up. Normally I'm on the defensive side of the ball. This week I'm going to be on the offensive side of the ball, and it goes to Mr. Free 3 himself, Jordan Addison. Sam Darnold finally realized that Jordan Addison is on our team and that we can throw to him. And when he does so, good things happen. That 69-yard bomb that he caught that was or wait, maybe that was a 49. I forget which one. I forget the tightrope that he did versus the long bomb in which he was getting mugged at the 2 yard line, but he still caught it, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Addison is a talented wide receiver. And when Justin Jefferson was out last year, Jordan Addison really carried our passing game. You just go back and look at what he did against the 49ers last year. So eight catches on 9 targets, 162 yards, touchdown. And it wasn't just the bombs that he got behind people. He was also, getting good intermediate route cover, the 10 to 15 yard stuff. I think it was amazing. And it was perfect because this is exactly what you want. This is the type of game that you need for the rest of the NFL to see is look, if you want to double and triple team Justin Jefferson all day, cool. That's fine. Jefferson's not a diva. Jefferson came in and smacked the crap out of a safety on the one. Like he came from his wide receiver spot, ran almost, past the left tackle and go hit the safety on that one. He's not a diva. He's a hardworking guy. And he even came out and said, right, if it comes to me feasting or everybody else feasting, I'm okay with everybody else feasting, right? If everybody's going to go off, that's okay. Because they get the W. And I think this was a big game for that. Jordan Addison, 162 yards, TJ Hockenson, 114, and then Aaron Jones over 100 yards. It's like, fine, you want to take away Jefferson, but you're not taking away our entire offense. And in fact, Sam Darnold had one of his best games when you took away Justin Jefferson, because right there, our bad MFer of the game, Jordan Addison was there to pick up the slack. That's fine. You want to put 2, 3 guys on that side of the field? I'll beat your guys one-on-one and I'll beat you to the end zone. No problem. I'm fast too. So they freed 3. He showed up. And the rest of the league is on notice is that if you're going to double Jefferson, you got to watch out for a heavy dose of JA.
No doubt. No doubt. So that concludes the wrap up of the Bears. Let's look ahead to Arizona. And I'm looking at just some of the statistics here. Obviously, they're neck and neck with the rest of the West, which are all floating at or slightly above 500. But Kyler Murray's having a pretty good season. I mean, he's becoming more of a pocket presence than he has historically. Still, obviously, getting plenty of rushing yards, but down from some of his previous seasons. But yeah, he has 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, so he's not turning the ball over. Playing steady. He's got some weapons there. McBride, Connor, Harrison Jr., who started out like gangbusters in the season, but's been kind of slowed down. I think he was injured at some point, but they definitely pose a threat. And as our colleague B Naughty, said, we haven't faced somebody like Murray or, the threat to run and some of the things that he brings that the Vikings have yet to see this season. So, what are your thoughts on the upcoming matchup against the Cardinals on Sunday?
Yeah, I think that my feeling is they got Connor in the backfield. He's a good running back, no doubt about it. But we're number 1 against the run, so I'm not as concerned about that. My concern is just simply I think if you force Kyle Murray to stay in the pocket, I think we win that because I think our coverages with Brian Flores' defenses about who we're dropping, who we're not dropping, who's going to be open, who's not going to be open. It's going to force a lot of short underneath stuff. We'll give up some passes, but they're going to have to earn it, right? They're going to have 10 plus play drives in order to score. And I'm okay with that because that means that they're taking small little chunks, and that's more opportunity for our defense to get home. I think where we lose this game is if Kyler Murray starts creating outside of the pocket. Caleb Williams, some of his best plays came when he broke contain and we whiffed on a sack. There was 3 big plays that he had because Harrison Smith missed him, Van Ginkel missed him on another one, and there was one more. I'm not sure if it was Cashman or Grenard missed him. And those are, Caleb broke pocket, got outside, either made a run or had two really big throws. So I think if we keep Kyler Murray inside the pocket, I think that's going to cause him to play right into Brian Flores' defensive coverage. But if Kyler Murray breaks pocket and we can't contain him, we let him use his legs and let him just start playing street ball. I think that's when we run into problems because then he's going to relax. He knows the game is crazy. He has a little bit of success. The coaches aren't going to be on him about it. They're going to let him run it. They'll give him the green light, just go to do, and that's when he's at his best is when he can just improvise. So we need to keep him in the pocket, and I think we'll be okay. Um, and Sam Darnold just play smart ball. Don't force
Yeah.
it. I think we need to lean on the running game more. I think we can't get in these discrepancies where we have 15 minutes of offense to somebody else's 25 minutes of offense when we get down the stretch there. But lean on the running game a little bit more. Let Cam Akers just abuse these people a little bit, right? Don't we brought him in here. Let's get him and Aaron Jones going 1-2 punch. Just start pounding it. So Kyler Murray in the pocket, Sam Darnold smart throws, better running game, and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, and seize the momentum. I know some of the games were a little ugly, Titans game, Bears games, but I mean, wins on the road in the NFL are hard to come by, and they overcame some adversity in those games. Obviously, I think the Titans and Bears games, while sloppy, in some regards, definitely character wins, and build on that momentum. You got a 3-game homestand coming up here against a beatable team. Vikings are 4.5-point favorites. Crowd's going to be anxious to see them. They haven't been packed in the U.S. Bank, so I mean they'll be getting their drink on by 8 a.m. out there tailgating. You know how it is at U.S. Bank Stadium. So looking forward to the game. Hoping to possibly do a live post-game show here on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. We'll let you guys know. Um, and also, we're looking to expand some coverage this week. We have Ramon going to be at the Wolves game tomorrow night, so we'll have something on that. And Steve will be at Camp Randall on Friday to take in the Gophers and Badgers. Hopefully, he survives the jump around, which I was fortunate enough to go do myself around 10 years ago. But should be a good time. Very winnable game for the Gophers. Very important with their positioning for a bowl after
Yeah.
after a tough loss against Michigan where they played pretty well. So or Michigan, um,
East State, baby.
yeah, Penn
Penn
State,
State, yeah.
Penn State. Yeah, after a tough loss against Penn State and a very good game. You can't even give PJ or the boys any crap about that one. But um, hopefully you have a great time there. Send us some stuff that we can throw out on social media, and then thank you for watching this edition of Vikings Weekly, uh, week 11 or week 12, but after game 11 of the season. And we will see you on Sunday. Steve, we'll see you here on Sunday.
Sounds good, buddy. We'll see you then.
All right, take care. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too, buddy.
All right.